Hello and welcome to the Keep Right On podcast. Today we are going to be discussing Birmingham City's impending promotion to the Championship and who or who may not be ready to play next season when Blues are going to be trying for probably a second straight promotion. We think that's the aim. We are, as you'll probably have noticed by now, in a slightly different setting. We're in person for the first time in our history, I think.
We have met before.
Yeah, we have met before. Yeah, we do spend some time together occasionally when Brian lets us. So without further ado, we will crack on. Brian, how are you this week? How are you reflecting on the first, majority of the season, the final international break?
Yeah, good. I think the international break is a killer, isn't it? You know, maybe not for the players who have probably, been playing 4 times a week for the last 6 months. For us, trying to find copy and stuff to write about, it is a bit of a killer. And I think, with Wycombe playing last night as well, you just want Blues to carry on and seal the deal, don't you? And then we can get into, how are we covering the promotion mode and all that sort of thing. But yeah, I guess for the players, it's a necessary break. And gives us a chance to sort of put our foot on the ball a little bit and take stock. And they're in a great position, aren't they? There's no other way to describe it. Maybe people grumble about the style. I'm not necessarily here to do that today. But in terms of results, they are absolutely relentless. Yeah, I do feel like fans, as much as players, want to kind of take a little step back in the international breaks as well, and probably don't consume as much content of, obviously not match related. So it's nice that we are doing something a little bit different today. And without further ado, we are going to go straight in. The format is who's ready for the Championship. We're looking at Blues being potentially, hopefully, a top 10 Championship side as soon as they go up. They've obviously got some players that we feel are equipped to do that. So you've got top 10 Championship players, Championship fringe players, and players who are going to be struggling for game time. So they are the 3 categories. So we're going to sort through the entire squad, aren't we, and try and put them in those buckets.
We could be here a while.
Yeah, we could be here a while.
It's a big squad. Yeah. So goalkeepers first. Nice easy one, Ryan Allsop.
Yeah, Ryan Allsop. It is an easy one, although the last time he finished in the top 10 of the Championship was with Hull, and he ended up getting let go, didn't he? Listen, when Ryan Allsop is the number 1 next season, I have no issues, around that. He's crucial to the way Blues play, and I think you'll agree that, he is capable, more than capable enough of, being that guy to take Blues into the top 10, into the playoffs and wherever that takes them, right? Yeah,
100%. I think the one kind of reservation I had going into this season was, is he a good Championship goalkeeper? Because we obviously saw with Hull how good he is with his feet.
Yeah.
When he was dancing around under the St Andrews crossbar when they beat Blues 2-0. So we knew that he's been exceptional with his feet this season, but he's also had some really good moments in the goal, hasn't he? You think back to the double save against Stockport, the penalty saves early season that he had against Charlton and then Lincoln. He's won Blues quite a few points, I think, along the way. So I think 20 clean sheets in 33 or 34 games as well. So, I have no issues with Ryan Allsop going into the Championship as Blues number 1.
Yeah, I'd agree. Maybe doing it this week after the Northampton situation is probably the one time that you could maybe say Allsop potentially has cost Blues a goal there, but no, absolutely not. Really, really happy with him going forward. Yeah,
on to a man who has cost Blues the odd goal here and there.
Yeah.
Bailey Peacock-Farrell.
He's going to struggle for game time, isn't he? If Allsop's the number 1, and that's just by virtue of the fact you can only play 1 goalkeeper. So that's a pretty easy one. Do Blues need to look at that department, do you think?
I think they probably do, because I think that we've been kind of knocking around potential player of the season candidates, haven't we, in the last few days? And I did see you put something out on X, and a lot of fans, some fans actually suggested Allsop, because he's the most important player. Because when he's taken out of the team or not involved, you notice the biggest difference, and I do think that's quite a thing, against Bolton, not just in terms of goalkeeping ability, because he's been better at that than Peacock-Farrell this season, but in the way Blues play, he's so important. Those kind of diagonal switches that has made his trademark for Anderson and Laird. I think he's so important. They probably need someone else who can step in the event that Allsop is injured, or maybe someone who can really challenge Allsop and take over that position. So I think Peacock Farrell is really struggling.
Who that is, we don't know. That's a different podcast. But yeah, I think we're on the same page with that one. Yeah.
Yeah. Moving on to the fullbacks. 5 fullbacks to get through.
Okay.
2 right backs first. Ethan Laird.
Ethan Laird is a top 10 stroke Premier League calibre athlete, stroke fullback. You know, depending on fitness for me. If he's the first choice right back next season, that's absolutely no issues for me whatsoever. I think this season has been really good for him. You know, maybe taking a step back and having some advice on how he manages his body and his fitness. I think that's been really good, and his performances have been good. And he, again, like Allsop, he's crucial to the way Blues attack, isn't he?
Yeah. I think Ethan Laird has always been having Ethan Laird, hasn't he? But now I think we're all having Ethan Laird. He's been so good, particularly since the turn of the year. Like Allsop, really important to the way Blues play. So I think we said when Blues were doing okay in the Championship at the start of last season that Ethan Laird looked like someone who could potentially be a Team of the Year right back in that league, and I still think he could be. Definitely a Premier League player in the making as well there.
We've come a long way since he didn't get it in that interview this time last year, haven't we?
We have, yeah. No. I don't think he'll be doing many more interviews like that, to be fair.
No, hopefully not. No, real good season.
Yeah. Alphonse Samsted?
He's going to struggle for game time, I think. Are we putting him in the Championship fringe or the struggle for game time bucket?
Would you be uncomfortable if he played, though? That uncomfortable if he played, like, say, 10, 15 games? I still don't
know, Alex.
No.
Is it fair to say I don't know still at this stage?
I suppose no, it's not. He's still a little bit of an unknown because he's kind of played so infrequently.
Yeah. I mean, what did you make of him at Northampton? I thought he was good at Bolton, to be fair.
Yeah, I thought he was okay when he came to Bolton.
It was Bolton. Yeah.
He was okay, and then he started against Stevenage.
Yeah, Stevenage was the one.
I thought he was really good against Stevenage.
Yeah.
And then I was a little underwhelmed against Northampton, but is that because the team wasn't as good?
Yeah.
Maybe it was. I think he still offered a lot of the same things, like, you know, in terms of kind of the runs he was making and the way he was playing. They just maybe didn't find him as much. And
if Thor picks him out in that situation,
then
maybe we are saying he's had another good game, and yes, he's definitely Championship fringe, if not even better.
I would probably put him in the Championship fringe.
Right, okay.
That's where I'd go with it, because I wouldn't be uncomfortable if he is Laird's backup right back next season, because you've always got the benefit of having someone like Taylor Gardner who can also play there if Davies isn't comfortable playing at Samsted.
Do they need to go out and sign a backup right back? They don't really, do they? No, so
I don't think they do.
Championship fringe then,
yeah. Left backs, Alex Cochrane, the marathon man.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, he probably doesn't feel like he's the fittest man in Britain, but you know the amount of running he's done this season. I have no issues. Top 10 Championship player, just scrapes into that for me. I think he would probably look fine in the in teams that are already in the Championship, potentially in those positions, knocking on the door of the Premier League. Yeah, and no problems for me. Like I think he's good going forward. He's solid, as a left back, and what's the phrase that I haven't used for a while, but the best ability is availability, and he's absolutely that for me. You? Yeah,
no, I agree. He's played all but 4 or 5 games this season. He's been very good generally. I don't think he's as good going forward as he is when he slots in alongside the other 2 centre-backs when Blues are in possession and forms back 3. I think that's probably more of his game. I think Chris Davies had made that clear recently, actually, in an interview I'd done with him. So I think we'll see him more like that going forward, with the right back kind of given more freedom to roam. So if they're going to use him like that, I think, I can see him in this system. In the way it plays, because a lot of it is the system. You look at Ipswich when they went up, and how they probably had a bunch of players, 5 or 6 players who hadn't done that well in the Championship previously, but completely excelled. You think of Sam Morsey, Massimo Luongo, Leif Davis as well, because of the system. So I think Cochrane's the perfect system player for Blues, and I have no issues with him. I think he's top 10 Championship.
Yeah, I wasn't. Was it against Lincoln where he sort of stepped into midfield to join the midfield line, didn't he? And I didn't think that looked massively comfortable. But as regards attacking, I actually think he puts in a better ball than Laird a lot of the time.
Oh, he does, yeah. When he whips it.
Yeah, I do. I think there's more headed opportunities from when he gets forward. Listen, we're going round in circles a bit here. Yeah, absolutely no issues at all.
To be fair, the Blues forward line don't need headed opportunities, particularly Williamson. Next one, Lee Buchanan. I think falls into a similar category as Cochrane, more defensively minded, probably more suited to that kind of left side of a back three when they're in possession. And again, we've seen Lee Buchanan in the Championship. We know he can handle himself at that level. We know he can do very well.
Does he do it in this system though?
I think he will.
The knock has been on how he plays forward, hasn't it? In previously in his career, or at Blues, certainly that was the knock on his.
That wasn't under Davies, though, was it? I don't think. And in the way that Davies plays with Buchanan tucking inside, I don't have any issues.
Yeah.
Chris Davies sees Lee Buchanan as a good passer of football,
right,
and a good defender. That's what he said. So I don't have issues with him. You know, obviously we don't know how he's going to come back from his knee injury. You never do, but. His history in the Championship tells me he is kind of a high ceiling player in that league, so I've got no issues with him, and I think it will be a very close battle if he gets back to full fitness.
Be interesting to see his sort of fitness trajectory now, though, whether Blues knowingly go into the Championship season with just Cochrane fit. You know, if Buchanan's not available till Christmas or something like that, then they've got a decision to make, haven't they, as to how they back up that position.
Yeah. Which brings us on to our next one, Myung-Jae Lee.
Yeah.
Obviously joined in January, end of January, hasn't been seen yet in a first team game at least. You know, we presume he will get some minutes at the end of the season when the league is wrapped up. It's very hard to form an opinion. It's very hard to form an opinion. Do we have one?
No, I'm not seeing him play, so it's pretty difficult, isn't it? No. What do you say? I mean, it's slightly surprising that he hasn't been involved yet, I guess. In League One, with a relatively restricted amount of substitutions, you don't just put an out and out left back. You want more versatility on your bench, don't you?
Yeah.
With more substitutions allowed in the Championship, or substitutes allowed in the Championship, maybe he creeps onto the bench then. But his contract is up in the summer,
it's a
right?
6-month deal, yeah.
I mean, it's difficult to know what to say, isn't it?
Yeah, the only person who's going to have an opinion is going to be Chris Davies from what he sees in training every day.
Yeah.
And that will decide his Blues future, won't it, I guess? I'd be surprised if we didn't see him at some point in the season, but very difficult to... I think he's probably the only player on this list that we've got that we're probably not going to be able to give a fair mark to.
Yeah, agree. Yeah, unknown.
Yeah. Okay, centre-backs. Blues have been blessed with centre-backs this season, to be fair. Christophe Clara first up.
Christophe Clara... I'd love,
top 10 Premier League.
Do we need to talk about him? Absolutely fine. I'd like him to be captain next season. No issues with him. I think Blues can get to the Premier League with Clara. Yeah, maybe, if and when they get to the Premier League. We're not doing when they get to the Premier League yet. Oh,
no, we can't do that. We can't do that.
Okay, just checking. When they get to the Premier League, they might want someone faster next to him. But we're putting several carts before several horses here, aren't we? I think, no issues at all. It'd be great to see him.
Kind of sold the speed card with Phil Neumann, though, haven't we? So maybe he'll kind of make up for Clara's shortage in that area. But I've no interest, no interest, no concerns about Clara in the Championship top 10. I think he'd walk into most Championship teams now. So that's it's probably pointless going on any more about that one. That moves on to Christian Bielik, who, for me, Brian, will fall into probably two of those categories we've got.
Yeah, indeed. So looking at Championship fringe, two struggling for game time, aren't we? Potentially, I mean, struggling for game time in League One. Can he play Championship football? Yes, he can, because we've seen it.
I'm going to disagree, Brian. I actually think he's Championship top 10 as a centre-back.
Do you?
Yeah, I do. I know we've seen mistakes from him this season, but I'll say that based on how he played in much more difficult circumstances last season at centre-back in the Championship.
Right.
Blues didn't lose a game when he was at the centre-back.
So your buckets are top 10 and fringe.
Is it going to struggle for games? I think this is the area of the field where Blues are strongest. They've got so many, 3 with Hanley, very good options, and we don't know what's going to happen with Davies, but we're going to come on for him. I think Christian Bielik probably wouldn't look out of place in a lot of Championship sides at centre-back. I think he's looked rusty in his recent appearances of Blues, probably because he's barely played. I don't like the idea of him at right-back inverting anymore. That's not for me. I think it's centre-back or nothing, and I do think he's a good player. I think if he took a little bit of the kind of jeopardy that he plays with out of his game and didn't take so many risks in possession, I think he'd be even better. I think that's what Clara and Davies slightly have over him at the moment. He takes more risks than they do in possession. It leads to more mistakes, as we saw at the start of the season. But I've no issue with Christian Bielik in a top 10 championship team.
You're talking me around here, actually, because he did played
really well.
His centre-back, didn't he? Was it under Mowbray?
Under Mowbray and under our final 4 games.
Yeah.
And Blues kept... Is it 3 clean sheets end of the season?
Yeah, okay. You've talked me around. Yeah, I'm struggling to put. I'm struggling to put him in top 10 championship. I have to say, unless I think the shortcomings are I'm not massively keen on him in the air.
I don't think he's bad in the air.
Right. Okay. Maybe you won't see that so much in the championship.
Maybe not. No.
Okay, you've gone top 10 championship. I'm going to go fringe, I think.
Fair.
Yeah.
I can see it.
I can't quite get there, I'm afraid.
Yeah, I think more might agree with you than me, to be fair, but we'll see. Ben Davies, who's obviously on loan, but I mean, Blues are probably going to want to explore that, aren't they?
I hope so.
Yeah, definitely. It depends on Rangers, doesn't it, really, because he is their player, in similar case to Kieran Dowell, as we'll come on to later, but he's been such a revelation for Blues this season. Been so consistent. You look at the number of clean sheets with him in the team compared to without him. I think he is top 10 championship.
Yeah, me too. There's a balance, isn't there, with him being a left footer. The perception of how much my sort of view of him has changed since his debut in the Virtue against Walsall, and he couldn't find a teammate, could he? His distribution is actually now very good. His diagonals are very effective, and. Yeah, as you mentioned, I put a tweet out about Player of the Season the other day on X, and a few people came back with Ben Davies, to be fair. So, yeah. Obviously, the numbers are going to have to be crunched, aren't they? Blues are stepping back into the FFP PSR world next season. So it's not Ben Davies at any price, unfortunately. But so from just from the footballing side of thing, then you'd definitely look to do it, and you'd have no hesitation, I don't think, about, or no concerns about him being the starting left-sided centre back and playing 40 games next season.
Yeah, I was scarred a little bit by that first Walsall game, to be honest.
Yeah, it really was. Yeah, it was jarring
in his distribution, and then watching him recently in the way that he plays out, and like you say, the diagonals, the long balls. He's exceptional on the ball. He actually probably is better than Clara on the ball. Yeah. Clara has got 3 assists, and that cross for Keshe was very good against Northampton. So, yeah, I've no reservations about him. I'd be very happy with him championship top 10.
It becomes, if they don't sign him, it becomes quite a hole to fill, doesn't it? That left-sided centre half.
Yeah, definitely. It's a unique position and very hard to find a player for, as Blues found last summer, because Ben Davies, we know, wasn't the first player they tried to sign for that position. Grant Hanley,
can he still play championship football? I mean, he's played tons of championship football, hasn't he? He's won the championship, and he's still playing international football.
He's got 3 promotions, hasn't he?
He has. I think he could play a part in a top 10 championship team. Yeah, I do. Will he? I'm not so sure that he will, because I think Davis and Blues will probably look at other options. Do you think he'll stay first and foremost? Do you think they'll explore that first and foremost?
I feel like they might, because I've been quite comfortable when he's played. He hasn't played much. He's been used as comes
on as a closer, doesn't he?
Yeah, to close games. He started the Stevenage away game. I thought we did okay. Considering he barely played for Norwich first half, so he's played about 4 games. He played more for Scotland. He played 6 internationals. So I'm quite happy with him in that role as 4th choice centre back. But because he was that at Norwich in the first half of the season, looked to move on in January, I can't see him wanting to do it again. So with Neumann coming in as well, the potential for Ben Davies to be signed, and Bielik sticks around, then he could be 5th, and I don't think they need 5.
Yeah.
So there's definitely a conversation, but I'm not 100% sure he stays.
Could be a championship top 10 player.
Yeah.
Could be a fringe player at Blues. Might not be at Blues. Yeah. Difficult to categorise. Yeah.
Midfield's going to be quite easy, I think.
Yeah. Should we just wave them all through now?
I think so. Yeah. Tomoki Iwata and Sung Ho Pekka.
Yeah.
Chris Davies has said himself he thinks they've got the makings to be a Premier League midfield, and I think both could potentially get to that level. Peck definitely.
Yeah.
So they're definitely Championship top 10. I struggle to believe there are 3 better midfield pairings in the Championship than Peck and Iwata.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we should run through them, but that would take forever. Yeah, just safe to say. I mean, Peck. Are you Team Peck or Team Iwata?
I'm Team Peck.
Team Peck, yeah, I'm Team Peck as well. Yeah.
I think, because I've watched a lot of League One football in the past, and I've never seen a player play the type of football Peck is playing in League One. I know people will say he doesn't get loads of goals or assists, and he got his first goal of the season recently, but you see some of the turns that he does, the touches. Against Northampton, Ben Davies played a simple ball into him, and he's got nowhere to go but backwards, and he's just flicked it around the guy who's up his backside, and it's found Hansen on the wing, and you're like, there aren't players in League One who do this sort of thing. I think he could potentially. My only concern with Peck is that I think there would potentially be lower Premier League teams who might look at him and think, he could be a good squad player for us.
And
I hope he'll see the project through.
I think for me, his main strength is you give him the ball under pressure, and it's just a little feint. It's a drop of the shoulder. It's something he does with his feet. He just creates time and space for himself, doesn't he? And it's just so classy. So, yeah, for a pair we weren't going to talk about, we've done quite well. If Peck stays in the team, if Blues go all the way to the Premier League for me.
He does, yeah. He's the one I have absolutely no doubt is going to be in that team if they get to the Premier League.
Yeah.
Mark Leonard and Taylor Gardner-Hickman. I feel sorry for Mark Leonard still. Blues have just played Northampton again. His former club on loan. He spent 2 years there. He hasn't played neither game against Northampton, which feels very unfortunate. But still, when he's played, he's been very good. He's just very unlucky that those 2 players ahead of him are so exceptional. And it's whether he wants to stick around, I suppose, and risk playing another season as second fiddle. Because Chris Davies has been quite comfortable in the knowledge this season that Blues will play 60 games because of the Virtue Trophy. They're probably not going to have that many games next season. So you're looking at 50, aren't you? Maybe 52. Yeah. So is Mark Leonard going to get enough game time to satisfy his cravings when we know that Chris Davies doesn't like to take Peck or Iwata out of the team?
Yeah, I think one issue of this season will have been Leonard will have looked down the fixture list and thought, well, those 2 have played a lot of games. Maybe I'll get in here, or maybe I'll get in here. And as you say, Davies just doesn't seem to rotate them at all, really, does he? So that will play in Leonard's mind. And also, the other factor will be, well, I'm going up into a system I know with players I know in a club I know, and it'll be my first season in the Championship. Does another Championship club come in and buy Mark Leonard? I don't know if they do, if they've got the evidence to make that move this season. So his easiest route into the Championship is with Birmingham City. Is he a top 10 Championship player? I don't think we've seen enough to say that if Peck or Iwata gets injured, then we put Mark Leonard in and we don't miss a beat. I think potentially. I think he's probably in the middle bucket for me at the moment, for Championship fringe.
I'd agree, and what he is, though, is considerably younger than Peck and Iwata. So he's got the ability to develop over time, whereas they are probably approaching their ceiling now, aren't they? Yeah. So he could get better, and he could overtake one of them and take a place in the team. So I think he's got that going for him.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
And last midfielder, Taylor Gardner-Hickman, I think has the benefit of obviously playing in 5-6 positions, has done really well, in one of the front 3 positions, or 3 behind the striker positions recently.
Yeah.
Scored a couple of goals. I'm not sure he's top 10 Championship. I think he's probably Championship fringes, but I'm very comfortable in him being in a squad that is trying to compete in the top 10 Championship.
Yeah, I think he'll, fitness allowing, he'll be in every squad next season, won't he? Because of the number of positions he can play. The couple of goals you mentioned, one of them is goal of the season for me. I think I know the Wycombe goalkeeper came close to stopping that volley, but the build up, the control, or the pass from Alsop, the control, the volley, absolute high end technical ability. So yeah, Gardner-Hickman, he's not your first choice right back. He's not your first choice centre mid. He's certainly not your first choice, in the attacking 3, is he, or the attacking 4? But he's probably one of the first names not on the team sheet, but in the squad list, isn't he? So, can he play Championship top 10? Yeah, I think he probably can.
He already has, hasn't he? I suppose earlier in his
exactly.
career for West Bromwich Albion and the Bristol City side, he played him a quite decent second half of that season. So again, another player I think he's probably tailor-made. Excuse the pun. Nice. For Championship.
Yeah, very good.
So we're on to the attacking players, wingers and number 10s.
This is going to be harder, isn't it?
This is because
we've pretty much waved through all the defenders and the midfielders, haven't we?
We have, because Blues have been, I mean, first and foremost, a really good defensive team this season, haven't they? Yeah. It's in the attacking areas where the problems have come, and they haven't scored as many goals as they perhaps should. That's evidenced by the stat that they have only won 2 League One games this season by 3 or more goals against Wigan and Cambridge, so they haven't scored as many as they should. So, first up, Keshi Anderson. Start with an easier one. Is it an easier one?
It's the easiest of them, I think. Yeah. Keshi has been Blues' best wide player, and I don't think it's close this season. So you, on that logic, you would say, of course, he goes through and plays his part in Blues hopefully becoming a Championship top 10 team. So therefore, he becomes a Championship top 10 player. However, the reservation is, as you're hinting at, I think, is we've not seen him at that level yet, have we, in his career?
No, I think he's having probably one of the best seasons of his career. I think he was quite good in the Championship Blues last year, to be honest. It was in a different team, obviously, but the numbers say that he was. They played, I think he had 12 starts, 5 wins, 5 draws, 2 defeats. Maybe if he played more, they might have done better. But I think what Keshi Anderson gives you is a huge footballing brain that can fit into a variety of playing styles and systems. And if Blues do need to go somewhere and play a slightly different game, and there's a game plan, and then Keshi Anderson will fit into it and will do his job really well. He never shirks defensive responsibilities. This season, he's added good numbers to his game in terms of goals and assists. So I think he's a good Championship squad player. I think if you are a team that's competing for top 10, you can carry people like Keshi Anderson, Taylor Gardner-Hickman in the knowledge they will probably start enough games over a season. Because also he's got versatility on his side. Keshi Anderson will say he wants to play number 10, but he won't play there for Blues. He plays one of the wings, and he does it very well. So I'm quite happy with him.
I think if you are wanting Blues to be in the top 10 of the Championship next season, you don't want Keshi Anderson to be your best winger or your best attacker, do you? You need support, don't you?
I don't think you want him in the starting 11.
Do you not?
I think you not all the time. I think he
wouldn't have any issues if he was.
No. I think he starts like 20-25 games a season.
Yeah.
I think you've got probably 2 other wingers who can also come into the 11 for some games. Like, I think you really need to strengthen that department, which probably means we are already ruling out players that are to come.
Yeah.
We'll go to Willem Willemsen.
Oh dear, poor Thor.
Who was your man crush at the start of the season?
He was my absolute poster boy. Yeah. He's Championship fringe at the moment, isn't he? There's just no other way of saying it. His performances have tailed off, and as much as I love some of the moments. Even now, he's still producing. There's little bits of skill, isn't there? And you're just thinking, that is next level ability. But do you have issues over durability? Is he going to be able to play or do all the Saturday, Tuesdays that he's going to have to next season? The signs so far this season would say he's going to find that difficult. The performance levels aren't there at the moment for me to say Thor top 10 Championship player. Are they? I mean, I just can't. As much as I want to, I can't.
There's such disappointment in your body language and voice here. Your shoulders are completely down. I agree. I've really struggled with him in the last couple of months since he's come back from injury. I think it's no goals or assists in his last 12 appearances. Like, for a player that was so effective in the early part of the season, I think I've said it on the podcast before, I feel like he was so good that he just completed League One in his own mind. And the Blues obviously went to top of the league, and he's just kind of taken his foot off the gas as far as I can see looking at him. And I do worry whether he's going to, he's not going to get any easier really next season. He's still going to have to play the same number of games because that's how the EFL works.
I don't buy the Davis theory that he'll be given more space to thrive in the Championship because he's finding space at the moment and not doing enough with it.
There'll be better pressing teams as well in the Championship that do press more relentlessly and want to put him under pressure and won't just let him kind of, dance around in the halfway line. So he needs to do a lot more. He needs to start taking games by the scruff of the neck again because he's a really, really talented player. And he does need to start scoring the odd header as well, because that's a real issue for Blues this season. He's actually cost them points because of his. I'm not saying every 6'4" player should be outstanding in the air, but some of the headers he's had, we think back to the Northampton one most recently, they're simple chances for most footballers, and he can't shy away from the fact that he should be scoring.
No situation is going to be more valuable next season as well, aren't they?
And you won't get anywhere near as many as them.
Yeah.
Blues have bailed him out at times this season in those games by taking other chances, like extra away being a prime example. He needs to do more, and I'm not sure I've given my own opinion on it yet, but I'd probably say he is Championship fringe. Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, because start of the season I had him in probably Championship top 10. So
Yeah, same.
Kieran Dowell, who obviously is also like Ben Davies on loan from Rangers. They're definitely going to want to try and sign him, aren't they?
He's Championship top 10, isn't he?
He is, yeah.
Do we need to talk much more about that? I mean,
he's been there for most of his career.
Exactly. Yeah. If there is a wonder about Kieran Dowell, it's the fact they've got him in League One.
Yeah.
He's a ridiculously good player. Creative, fine space, good weight of pass, great penalty taker, as we now know. If Blues could sign one Rangers player, is it Dowell or Davis?
We've had this conversation before, and you and Richard Wilford went for me, but I would stick to Dowell, because I do feel in his area of the field he's more important than I think Ben Davies will be next season, because Blues will obviously have Phil Neumann as well to go with Clara. They'll have potentially Christian Bielik. They've got Grant Hanley. Obviously, they're probably going to need another left-sided centre-back if Davies leaves, but I just think Dowell's become so important to the attack. Even when he doesn't play well, which I didn't think he played that well against Northampton, he was still by far the most creative Blues player on the field. So for me, I think they really need to sign him.
Yeah. Integrating him into a pre-season as well, and just seeing where he goes from there. Yeah, definitely. I'd like to sign. I'm still Team Davis, who've given the one signing, but yeah, Dowell, top 10 Championship player for the purposes of this pod, definitely.
In this world, we can have both. Scott Wright, who, again, like Lee Buchanan, Chris Davies has essentially ruled him out till the end of this year. So, with a knee injury after surgery. So, I think he's probably going to stay, isn't he, at the summer? Let's be honest. He's not going to move with an injury.
No.
So, I think he's probably Championship fringe.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
I think he's got the ability to be a good sub in the Championship with 9 subs. We've seen that from him. I think if he's happy to play that role, which he has been first half of this season, I've no issues with Scott Wright. I think he's a fast, effective substitute. I don't think he's going to be anything more for Blues.
Yeah, but good ball carrier, quick feet, good winner of free kicks. Probably more effective running through central areas than he is down sort of touch lines.
The inside right position he was great in. When they asked him to play wide, whether it's right or left, I don't think he was as good.
Yeah, but in what we've seen of him, I don't think he's been massively impressive in his starts in League One. Take the injury aside, so I don't think we can go anywhere other than Championship fringe at the moment.
No. Emil Hansen,
is he getting better, do you think?
I don't think he's getting better enough.
Do you not?
I don't. No, not for me. I think he's getting better.
Yeah.
I don't think he's getting to a level where you're looking at him and saying, "Oh, Championship top 10." I think potentially Championship fringe.
Yeah.
Because let's face it, most of the players Blues signed last summer were better than League One. But I do think if they go up, when they go up, they sign 2 wingers potentially. You've got those 2, Keshi Anderson. If you could sign Dowell, who likes to invert off the right, and I think Hansen really struggles for minutes. That's probably the category I would put him in. I think he's Championship fringe, but I think he also struggles for minutes.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I think I've seen an improvement since he's come back from his injury. I think. I do think there's a good athlete in there. Now, is there a durable athlete in there? Is the big question. And the signs you'd have to say, so far, I would say he's not proved that at all. I can't just airdrop him into top 10 Championship player.
No.
I would have misgivings if he's, the winger, the left winger that Chris Davies or Blues are pinning their hopes on to start the season. Yeah, I do think they need depth. So, yeah, let's go Championship fringe. He could end up struggling for minutes, but at the moment, we'll go Championship fringe, shall we?
Yeah. Last 2 in this category, Ayumu Yokoyama.
Oh, bless him.
I know. We
So you've sagged now as well.
Yeah, we tried to fight his corner, didn't we?
We did.
I think earlier in the season when Blues wingers weren't playing that well, and Yokoyama was there on the bench, and we'd seen him in the Virtue games and been a little bit impressed and thought maybe he could be the answer, especially to the lack of pace they have in attacking areas.
Yeah, does the bigger bench work in his favour potentially?
No.
Just have this wild card flyer off. No.
Well, if I go back to the point, if he can't get a look in League One games, in the run-of-the-mill League One games when Blues are playing, extra at home, then why is he going to get a chance in the Championship? I think Chris Davies is probably going to want greater strength. I think Blues can probably afford greater quality.
And the flaws, the tracking back and the switching off in defence, they're only going to be magnified, aren't they, against better players?
Yeah.
Yeah, shame, because there's something in there.
There is, yeah.
And maybe in 2 or 3 years' time, maybe Birmingham City's come a bit too soon for him.
Maybe they loan him out for a couple of years and then see how he is. If he goes and has a breakout season somewhere else, but the standard he's playing at, because he's playing for Young Genk in Belgium, second tier, it doesn't exactly fill you with confidence that he's going to be ready for a season in the Championship.
No. You're reluctant to throw away the attributes, the physical attributes that he's got, particularly, as you said, in a side that lacks pace. Hopefully that won't be the case. Next August there will be pace in the side, and you and I will be going Yokoyama who sort of thing. But at the moment, still a chink, just that small sort of shard of light, I would say. But no, he's going to struggle for minutes, isn't he? Let's be honest.
And now for your favourite interviewee, Luke Harris. Obviously on loan from Fulham. Hasn't really played second half of the season, has he, at all?
No.
Barely getting squads at the moment. Chris Davies seems to have lost a little bit of faith in him and hasn't played him as much when it's, we've come to the point in the season where points mean everything.
Yeah.
I guess we're probably going to say struggle some minutes, but realistically he's probably not going to be at Blues next season.
No, I think he'll probably go back to Fulham, and they potentially would be looking at Championship loan for him. Ideally he's done Exeter now, he's done Blues, and then logically thinking the next step in his career would be a loan, to sort of mid-table Championship team. No, the jury's still out, isn't it? I'm afraid he's still got some developing to do. So no, like you, I don't think he'll be at Blues next season.
Yeah. On to the forwards, the strikers. We've got 4 more. Start with the easiest one. Jay Stansfield.
Jay, absolutely. Yeah, low end Premier League at the moment. I've been not just the goals. I've been impressed with the mentality of the way he's handled the pressure. I've been impressed with the variety of his finishes. I've been impressed with him technically, actually. Could he play striker more physically? Could he put his body on defenders more? I think yes, he potentially could.
Has he got that physicality though, do you think?
I mean, not at the moment, no. He's quite a slight young man, isn't he? And maybe that's won't be the way he pays his bills. He will play football in more non-contact kind of way. But yeah, I mean, most of the abilities you want to play low-end Premier League, I would say. So yeah, no issues with Jay at all.
Yeah, I'm exactly
been
the same.
A good season for him, hasn't it?
He has, yeah. I think since the turn of the year, since he kind of got his way back into the striker position, I think he's been excellent.
He's really thrived. Yeah.
He's really shown the difference between himself and Alfie May in that position, I think. And you can see the quality he's got, that he is top-end Championship. And I think we had the conversation before we came, but it wouldn't surprise me if he went into the Championship this time around and scored 20 goals. I think he has got that in him now, and I think this season, scoring 20 goals for the first time in his career will have given him that confidence. So the finishing's been top draw. You think to the one against Bradford in the Cup, you think the one against Charlton, that is really trademark Stansfield, showing the intensity and pressing ability to win the ball back in the first place and not giving up on a lost cause, to go and then drive forward and smash one into the roof of the net from 20 yards. That's, no issues with Jay Stansfield leading the line for Blues in the Championship. Lyndon Dykes.
Yeah, I think he's a really easy one for me. He's fringe Championship. He's not a top 10 Championship striker in my mind.
I don't think he ever has been, has he?
I don't think he ever has been. No, there's obviously the injury to sort of throw into the equation there. It'd be interesting to see whether he's back for pre-season and how much of pre-season he gets. but yeah, he's not going to displace Jay, and I don't think he'll get the opportunity to play the number 10 role, which he sometimes has. He has attributes, but for me, it's off the bench at the moment.
I think, like a few, he probably falls into two categories. One being, as you said, championship fringes, and the other being struggles for minutes.
Yeah.
I can't see him playing an awful lot, and I do feel like they're probably going to need another striker to compete with Jay Stansfield for that position. So yeah, I'm not sure about Lyndon Dykes for next season. Alfie May. He's probably going to create the most debate.
This is the one I think are we worried about it? I think he's going to struggle for championship minutes next season.
100%, yeah.
Yeah, just put that out there. He came to football late, but he still had quite a not a lengthy career, but he's had a solid lower league career, but he's just not broken into the championship yet. And I don't see him making an impact in the championship. I don't think you want him up front if you're looking to be a top 10 team. I think it's going to be a struggle next season. Yeah,
Alfie May is a very good goal scorer, as we know, a really good finisher. I think he's shown this season more ability with the football than I thought he had or would have.
Yeah.
In terms of the assists that he's got, he's actually quite high up in the charts with Blues players for assists this season. You think back to a couple he got over the Christmas period. There was a decent cross. Did he cross for Laird against Exeter as well in January? So I think he's shown that part of his game, which is really good. I don't think he's scored enough goals with the chances that he's had, which is the one thing you kind of banked on him doing. But for me, he hasn't caused defenders enough issues since January. I think he's obviously on a very bad run of form. He's got himself some chance in some of the games that he started and not taken them. But I look back to that Bolton game and I thought he looked a bit shy and timid against the Bolton defenders and didn't really put them under a great deal of pressure. And I thought they're probably one of the better League One sides in terms of personnel. I do worry that when Blues get to the Championship, that he might not be able to compete well enough with Championship centre-backs, and they might find it quite easy up against him. Is he the player that you rely on his finishing and ability to sniff out a chance, and you bring him on for the final 10 minutes of a game if you're chasing one, or But other than that, I don't really see him getting many chances, which is a shame because he's done so well in League One over the last 3-4 years, particularly before he arrived for Blues with 3 successive 20-goal seasons. He's probably deserved a chance to play in the Championship, but I don't think he'll get regular football with Blues.
No, he's got the golden child ahead of him now, hasn't he? So
exactly.
It makes it difficult for him. He's good off the bench against Lincoln, was it? Came on at half-time for Hansen and made a good impact. I think in the best-case scenario, that's the role we're looking for next season.
Yeah, impact sub.
Yeah.
Struggles for minutes, yep. And finally, Lukas Djukovic.
Oh, dear. I mean, he's struggled for minutes this season, so logically he's going to struggle for minutes next season. Nine substitutes. Do you keep him round and have him on the bench?
It's a difficult one, isn't it? Again, he's probably one that you're not going to always use if he's on the bench, because you're probably not going to use him to close a game out. You're probably going to be, again, like I just mentioned with May, you're going to be bringing him on for 5-10 minutes if you're.
Yeah.
In Djukovic's case, if you're lumping the ball into the box and trying to get an aerial contact, I just think that Dykes has to be that player for Blues, or maybe someone else has to be it now. Djukovic is obviously out of contract in the summer as well, so
but Dykes has to be that player because there's more investment wrapped in him.
I think because he's younger and he's got the same physicality as Djukovic, so why not use it?
He's not as physical as Djukovic, though, is he?
Not as kind of strong, but he's got the same height, maybe a little bit more. We saw against Bradford that he's got the same kind of jumping power when he wants to.
Yeah.
So maybe he could be that player. He's got to kind of fit in somewhere and bring something to the party, hasn't he? So maybe he could be that guy.
Do you just say to Duke, look, the ball's in your court. This is your role next season. There's some contract here for you if you're happy for, 5 minutes every fourth game sort of thing.
Are we just trying to get him 10 years in that case, though? Is that just a...
I think I'd just say, your call. This is the role. If you're happy with that role, here's a fairly modest contract, unfortunately.
I presume he's probably on quite modest terms now, though, to be fair.
I have no idea.
To stay this season, yeah.
if he thinks, well, I've played my part in returning Blues to the to the Championship, I now want to go and play 2 or 3 or 4 more years, playing regular league football. That's, I think you do him the courtesy of making that choice himself.
Yeah. Well, I think he'll be 36 end of this season.
Yeah.
He hasn't really had many injuries, which obviously will...
Not at Blues, no. He missed 2.5 years earlier in his career.
Which will work well in his favour, like looking to secure a contract with another club. And to be fair, having watched League One teams, League Two teams, I think he'd probably be okay and do all right at that level now, even at this age.
I agree. So yeah, he could easily do the Jordan Rhodes role, couldn't he?
He could 100%, and he might go and score 10, 15 goals again in a team that plays to his strength. So again, like you said, I probably agree. Because he's been such a solid servant to Blues over a period of time, maybe give him the chance to make his own call, whether that's stay here as a bit part player and would fall into the struggles for minutes category.
Yeah.
And potentially start his coaching journey or whatever he wants to do post-football.
Yeah.
I think that would be good. I do get the feeling from speaking to people at Blues, they will try and look after him. I think that brings us to an end on all the squad.
It does indeed.
And we've been here a while.
Yeah. We have, yeah. Pretty much agreed on most people. That's probably 3 or 4 players we'd be happy to take forward into the Premier League without question. Peck, Stansfield, Clara...
And Iwata.
And Iwata, yeah.
I think Laird's got potential for that as well, so maybe 5.
Yeah, but there's the start of that squad, but then, as I said earlier, we are putting the cart before the horse, aren't we, again? Which I think wraps it up, so it's a keep right on from both of us.
Yeah, thanks everyone.